Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Urban Bourbon Hour. It is, what's up, Mikey? It is Bourbon Heritage Month. This is the second episode of Bourbon Heritage Month for the Urban Bourbon Hour. And tonight, my guest will be Dixon Dedman, who is the master blender at Kentucky Owl. Dixon was on the show before, so this will be his second go-round tonight. Should be fun to catch up with him and hear about all the things that have been going on and that are about to be going on with the brand as some new releases and things are headed out to market very soon.
Oh,
There he
God, thank you. I was never going to get that right.
I was just talking about how
Yeah, no.
you're an Instagram star these days.
No, not at all. Not at all. I know how to, I know where the icon is on my phone. That's about all I got.
Well, thank you for coming on and agreeing to come back and do this.
Heck yeah, man.
I know it's 9:00 where you're at. But
Well,
I thought
I just had a
cool.
cup of coffee. I just read my daughter a couple books, and my wife is with the boys, and I snuck downstairs, and there's a 50-50 chance that one of my children just shows up in just a second, I just peed the bed or something. So we'll just see what happens.
Hey, that's all good. But so you've been on the Urban Bourbon Hour before. I was telling the viewers that you were on like November-ish of last year, so close to around the same time last year.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit. Well, first off, let me start this way. Since it's Bourbon Heritage Month, can you tell us like a bourbon that really kind of hooked you when you were younger, that really said to you, yeah, I'm all about this particular bourbon? Was there one that just kind of grabbed you?
It's kind of funny because this oddly enough, and I do tell the story a lot. People don't believe it, but interesting fact: the state of Kentucky has more counties than any other, the Commonwealth of Kentucky has more counties than any other state in the country. We have 120 counties in Kentucky. You are driving down the road, you blink, and you're in a different county.
Yeah.
But what is interesting is that up until probably the 2010, 2011, 2012, Kentucky also had more dry counties than the rest of the country combined.
Wow.
So we had, everything, and so you've got that's if you've been on enough of the distillery tours, you always get that one really clever tour guide who always, his favorite joke is, back in the day, Bourbon County was dry and Christian County was wet. That's like the clever ha 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 joke from the. But anyway, until 2003, excuse me, the county that I grew up in was dry, and basically everything from the county line north of us all the way to Tennessee, it was dry, and literally, if so Anderson County is the county just north of where I live, which is home to the Four Roses Distillery, Wild Turkey Distillery. But as you come south on the highway at the county line, there are two liquor stores on the county line on both sides of the highway that used to make bajillions of dollars for all the bootleggers and people going south. The reason I tell you this story is that, like, growing up, when you're doing all the like silly, goofy, trying to, get your hands, I mean, getting your hands on booze was nearly impossible. You had to
Hmm.
find somebody, and it wasn't like what bourbon struck your fancy when you're young. It's just like, hell, we'll drink anything,
Yeah.
just, um, and we all had our fair share of run-ins with all the normal the usual suspects and things like that. I'll be honest, when I was back and kind of started drinking something other than what would get me where I wanted to be as fast as you wanted to. I became a turkey guy. I mean, I just
Oh, all right. Yeah.
I like the and so turkey turkey little turkey 101 on the rocks, and I thought that I was like doing it right. I'm drinking bourbon with ice. It's not ginger ale. It's not Diet Coke. It's not whatever Mountain Dew. And that's when I thought I was really classing it up.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, Wild Turkey 101, that's a hell of a whiskey right there.
I'll drink. Yeah, I'm with you.
Um, so do you have a bottle in your collection that is like an old turkey or old anything or just a special bottle to you that you're hanging on to open on a specific occasion, like a super, super special bottle to you? Do you have anything like that in your collection? Because
I
I know you drink bourbon, you drink everything.
I have. I mean, those are special bottles. Those are uh,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
and some of those, and then a lot of ones that are really important to me too are right up there.
Some Four Roses up there.
That's the entire Four Roses all the way back to the Marriage days. Those are special bottles. I don't, at a certain point you try to figure out like, okay, are those bottles, am I going to open those bottles? Am I going to beat my children when I find out that they, with their friends, have like broken into those bottles? I mean, it's fun. I love it when people come over and they're like, oh my gosh, I've never heard of that, or what is that, or that and let's open it. I'm an open it kind of guy, and so and I have one of my favorite things, and really, truly one of something that I've just always loved is the stag line. I've got the stags going back to like '07. So I've got all
Mm,
of them. I mean, I don't know when you open those things. It'll happen at some point. You come down for dinner, and we'll crack them all open and drink them. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I've got them. I don't treat these things like there's some you know, I don't know, like the things that you keep locked away that that
yeah.
are just appreciating. Like I'm not going to sell them. I'm going to drink them. I'm going to drink the heck out of them one day. I don't know when, but we're going to. It's funny. It's
Yeah.
like when I talk about good Kentucky House stuff. That was the same way. Like I I just had I was like, well, if this doesn't sell, we're going to have a lot of bottles to like
Yeah.
drink, at my kids' weddings or something like that, or
Yeah, for
tu-
sure.
Tuesdays, whatever.
Tuesdays, yeah, right. Well, I mean, speaking of like drinking on a random Tuesday with, I know it's Thursday today, but like with
Is
this
it?
whole COVID, yeah, with this whole COVID thing, like how has that been affecting, like obviously you have the inn, how has it been affecting that, and how has it been affecting like everything you do in your job with Kentucky Owl?
I mean, it's affected both. Um, the end significantly more so than Kentucky Owl, I guess, because I mean, it's what's been hit the hardest. I mean, I think you could probably make an argument for a lot of things, and I'm not acting like some kind of expert, but hospitality and restaurant. I mean, it's just been it's hard. It's so hard, and it becomes when you're worried about your employees, and you're worried about their families, and you're worried about your suppliers, and you're worried about, I mean, it's been brutal, really. And
Yeah.
then, then it gets even, I shouldn't say worse, but when you can't provide the level of service, you can't do the things that you're used to doing. You can't interact with guests. I my favorite thing in the world is just to go and spend time and hang out and whatever. And when you can't do that, it I mean, it sucks.
Oh yeah.
So that's been a real challenge, and I'm really proud of our people and our team and what we've been able to do. But it's there's only so long you can just live on 50% and whatever. But so that, I mean, that's been tough. I haven't been able to do the tastings that I like to do and stuff like that. And then on the Kentucky Off front, I mean, we're like, production has continued. We're still working on, and I just finalized. It was dumped. I gave the final blessing on batch 10 this morning at about 8 o'clock this morning in Bardstown.
Wow.
So that's
Awesome.
rolling out. And then everything is virtual now. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm not. When we start releasing stuff previously, it was a lot of time on the road. It was a lot of, and like tomorrow night, I think tomorrow I have 3 different, 1 hour virtual tastings.
Yeah. Like Zoom meetings and stuff. Yeah.
You're right. So I mean, it's just different, I mean, it's like this, I can, I apologize for not dressing up, but normally I have a shirt and tie on up top. I don't wear pants, but it's great. I can get away with it.
That's right.
But yeah, so I mean, it's just weird. I mean, it's not any different for me than it is for anybody else. Everybody can figure out what in the world is going on and how to deal with it.
Sure. I wonder if things go back to normal or some semblance of normal, do you think that in a way, I don't know how to phrase this, like in a way, like what's happened is, obviously this is all awful, but in terms of like how it's affected the way that you are able to communicate with customers, with groups and things out there, has it in a way made it even more, you're like even more accessible now? I feel like you can do those meetings, like you said, like tomorrow night you're doing multiples, but if you're traveling, you're in one place at one time.
I mean, see, these are the kind of things that I end up saying, and I probably get in trouble for it, but that's whatever. I don't really care. That's the way. But
that's what we want.
What's been a lot of fun, but cool is, through this is, the market visits, which are fun and can be great. A lot of times you get bogged down with distributors, with bouncing to retail, store owner after whiskey buyer after head bartender or whatever.
Right.
And like, nothing against retail, I don't mean it that way, but like, when it's like when you can figure out how to get to a place and get in touch with like that local bourbon group or some of those local bourbon groups, or when you can figure out how to get the bartender who can say, hey, these 8 guys would love to hang out, and like, and then you, I don't mean this the way it's going to sound, but like when you can start getting in touch with, hooking up with, talking to the people that are the people that are actually buying the stuff, like not the
Yeah.
guy that's buying it so that they can sell it to, but that's what this has kind of made that a little bit easier, or not easier, but it's I mean that's just cool. It's kind of like this whole one thing that's come from this is like I feel like I have been able to connect with more of like the more at a consumer level than if I were having to do these like market visits.
Right.
They're much more kind of at and it's a different level of connecting with people, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense at all.
It totally makes sense. I could sort of see it as, okay, so you're meeting with a buyer who's buying a lot of stuff at a particular store or whatever, and that's great. It serves its purpose. But if you can meet all the people that that store is selling to, in a way,
Yeah.
you're doing exactly what you would have been doing with the buyer, and you're probably doing exponentially more to grow the brand by talking to the people directly. So I think it's fine. This all sucks. I think it's fine to find like those bright kind of spots that have come out of this garbage that we're in. So I think I totally see that. I see that with like you on social media. Like, so let's talk about Instagram. You've during this quarantine period, you did all these whiskey in a box challenges, which I thought were just super entertaining. I actually went back again today and watched like a whole bunch of them just to refresh my memory on some of them. I think the first one really made me laugh the hardest because I think it was Willet Pot Still that was the first one you did. And I think that was the first one, or maybe that's the last one I watched, but you were just so angry that you had picked something that you had thought was like just completely nowhere in the ballpark of Willet Pot Still. And you were just, and like the look on your face was just priceless. But those have been really amazing, really cool. I mean, what was one of the ones that like really ticked you off, or one of the ones that like you were really like nailed that one? Well, you nailed a lot of things, maybe not necessarily the brand, but that was just good stuff. So tell me like some of those things that you
I
liked
don't
or
even know.
disliked.
I'm not sure what the hell I was thinking when it was just, I think I was so frustrated and so anxious, and so I don't know what was going on, and like this just like it just in 20 minutes I was like, I think this is a great idea. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna post it. I mean, and I didn't really think this through, and it was I think that I was like kind of half sitting at my desk stressing over everything that was going on, and being bothered by like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? The end's closed, we're dark, there's nothing going on. But I was like, I've got something. I've got to do something. I need something to take my mind off this or whatever. And like some of our guys were downstairs cleaning the tavern. And I was like, you know what? I got an idea. Pick whatever. Just pick something. And pour it in a glass, and you put the bottle under this box. Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, just go with it. And it was so funny, the messages after that first one were like, I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you're such a moron. I can't believe, but it was great. And I don't think, there's nothing more challenging than that. I mean, and sometimes I was close with profile, but I mean, it's hard.
It's so hard.
But it's fun, and a couple times I did one with I did a challenge one time. I was so close. I nailed it. I was like, this is on that Matt, whatever.
Wrestling with
Brown.
Whiskey. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
yeah, yeah,
Matt.
right.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think this is a finish that is some sort of port finish, something like that. And
Yep.
then I was like, well, no, maybe it's not. I went, so you got to learn to like trust your gut and just like go with
Yes.
your kind of. It's like that second taste is the one that you've got to go with. The first you throw it out, the third you kind of whatever, but it's the second one you got to go with. But I don't know. It was just it was fun. I think about it all the time. That box, the box is still in the tasting room that has the thing on the side of
That's
it.
you.
So
You're always throwing.
yeah, so there's a chance. Maybe I'll do another one tomorrow. I may do another whiskey in a box tomorrow.
You should.
Maybe
I
I'll
would
do a
love to
whiskey in
see
a
it.
box to get me ready for the tastings I have to do tomorrow.
Yes. I love that. I love that idea. Um, what I did really like about those though is it gave us like this insight into, if people are watching it closely, like this, you give insight into like how you're going about like breaking down a whiskey that you don't know anything about. I mean, you know it, you've had it at that particular point in time, it's blind to you. So I think it's interesting to hear you kind of like talk about how you, when you first taste it, like where it's hitting you on your palate, like front, middle, or is it all going to your back? All these things that you talk about. And I'm thinking to myself, because I'm a nerd about all this stuff, is like, this is what he's doing when he's putting together blends, when he's tasting barrels. He's dissecting those particular ways they're hitting his palate and then trying to figure out how he's going to connect all these different things. So to me, that's really cool to see you do that.
I think, I mean, I appreciate that. I think, there's a big part of me that can never, and I just can't, I don't understand it. I don't, I mean, I appreciate it. I love it. People are like, oh, you have this palate or this ability or this, what, like, I mean, I don't know. I just taste things. They taste, I taste it. This is what it does for me. And it's good. It's bad. It's not, and I think one of the things I enjoyed so much about the feedback from like the whiskey in a box thing is when people would be like, it's just so refreshing to like know that, you're not like, I don't have to taste caramelized rhubarb to, like I can, keep it simple, and I mean, I think that was kind of the, like a lot of the fun feedback is from people is like, I like and appreciate the very simple approach, and just, good, bad, where does it hit you, and how that, how that works, and you don't have to, create this laundry list of flavor profiles to decide whether, what it is. You can just, so it was fun, and the feedback was a lot of fun too. It was cool.
I think we've got a quote that came out of tonight that someone is caramelized rhubarb is coming out of tonight. Caramelized rhubarb, Dixon Dedman.
Yeah, that's my favorite. It's one of my favorite. It's caramelized. This says, what I'm drinking tonight is hints of caramelized rhubarb and toasted giraffe hoof. It's one of my favorite combinations.
Well, speaking of flavors, like, is there a flavor in whiskey, not caramelized rhubarb, but is there a flavor in whiskey that you hate to get? Like, and do you get that note in, I'm not asking you to say a brand or anything, but do you get that note in something that you know that you're not going to drink that whiskey because of that particular flavor?
Man, I mean, you're going to end up making me say something that's probably going to get me in trouble, but I tend to do that a lot. I do that on my own. I'm not blaming you. I find that while I am a fan of rye whiskey, I'm not a huge fan of younger rye whiskey. And when somebody, when somebody hands me something, I can pretty much, you hand me that glass, and if it reminds me of like freshly polished wooden floors, or like the clean bathroom smell of Mr. Clean or something like
Oh
that,
yeah.
that like minty pine sol-y, whatever. That's just, I'm out. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, where's the so, I don't know, where's the red wine? But so that's that's what comes to mind when you ask that question. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's
No, I think that's a fair or a real answer. And I'm sure there's plenty of those types of whiskeys out there right now that maybe hit that mark for you. And you're like, no, no good.
yeah, I mean, it's just if we're drinking rye whiskey, I prefer a rye whiskey with some age and some oak development, barrel character, some of that complexity. And so, it's
Yep.
but
So speaking of,
but I love all young
uh,
ryes and all old ryes and all ryes in general, and I love all
yeah,
ryes that anybody makes. And yes,
good cover, good cover.
okay.
But speaking of Rise, you've got this new one. Thank you very much for sending this sample, by the
Oh,
way. You've got this new one coming out, Rye Batch 4, and it's going to be your last rye, or for a while at least.
ish. Can we say
Ish. Okay.
ish?
All right. All right.
And apparently the TTB didn't like the ish part, but that's what I was. No, here's the deal with all this stuff. I'm not gonna do it unless I'm not bottling it unless I'm willing to stand behind it. No, I mean, you and I, we've had this conversation before. I'm making these blends. I'm putting this stuff together. There are
Yep.
things that I can't control, and I got to, I deal with it, whatever. My title is Master Blender. It's not Master Pricer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I'm putting now. So there are some things that I have control over, and some things that I kind of don't. But I don't, I don't have rye in the pipeline yet that I'm ready to, to put behind this stuff. I mean, this stuff I think is some of the absolute best whiskey, not bourbon, not rye. And I think some of the best whiskey that I could have ever been a part of. I mean, these ryes, this run of ryes, and these things that we, that I was, I mean, they're just phenomenal whiskeys. And I'm not,
Yes.
I'm not gonna do a rye 5 with something that is, not ready to be rye 5. And
Yes.
so, but I'm not gonna be pressured into doing that. And I just, and the one of the great things about the relationship I have is that I until I say that we've got a rye that's ready to go in there, we're not doing it.
That's awesome.
And so this one, this one is, it's gonna be a little while, I think, before we have something else. And it's this one's really built around more of that 10-year-old stuff that was so so much a part of the and this one also is 10, 11, 12, and it has a little bit of the end of the 13 in there, but it's the 10
Wow.
that's strong. It's 112 point something, excuse me, 112.8, I think. And it's I mean, it's just it's just. I mean, you can't screw this stuff up. Like, anybody could do this with that rye.
I don't
Anybody can
think
do
so.
it. It's true. It's just, this stuff is just that good. And
Oh,
it's been so much fun to play with. I'm holding on to, I'm doing some kind of test stuff with the small portion of it. I'm gonna try a few different things, and see, and this is actually, the 4 is the smallest release of rye that we've done. It'll be less than any of the other ones, but it's right there with all of them. I mean, I think it's really right there.
well, the finish on this thing is wild and crazy. I mean, just forever. And it's 112 proof. Man, I would be
112.8, I believe, is.
I never would have guessed. When I feel like it drinks a bit lower than that. Just really easy drinker, but man, the
They're
finish
trouble,
was
man. They're
crazy.
trouble. I just have these sample bottles, all these. When they start bottling, I'll pull off like one bottle every couple of hours just to make sure that we're in line on profile, nothing's going weird. And then, those bottles have been open, so somebody's got to take them. So they end up in my house, and it's like, well, what's going to happen with them? And, so sometimes, it's like, well, I know it's been 3 months, but I better see what 2 o'clock was like, when we were bottling.
Yeah.
They're trouble.
Oh man, I mean, wow, what a amazing blend. So this hits is this out now, or is this coming very, very soon?
No. So this is, it's actually is in the bottle. It has not been, the production of this is not complete. So we're probably, hopefully early to mid October,
Oh,
getting
okay.
this out. So
All right. So 112.8-ish. It's going to carry the 10-year age statement
carry
on
the
there,
10. Right.
but has lots of other older whiskey in it. Man, I haven't had a sip of this in a while, and it's just kind of just coating my mouth and just hanging around in there. Just really, really amazing finish on this. Wow, really great. So before we go to the next one that you sent me, you also have batch 10 of the bourbon, which you said you had just approved that like today. What can you tell us about that in terms of the makeup of it and proof point, and when we're going to see that one hit the market?
So this is like, I don't know who I was talking to about this, but like, when I get this a lot. Like, people are like, "Hey, can I come up and can I blend with you for a day? Can we blend for a day?" As if starting at 9 a.m. we just start putting whiskey in bottles and shaking them up and then tasting them and being like, "Oh, that was great," or "That sucks," or
Yeah.
whatever. And I don't. I've figured it out for myself. What I've kind of figured out sort of works.
Yeah, for you.
And yeah, for me, and so it's funny, like, when people come and they're really serious about kind of like asking the questions. One of the things we talked about is like, okay, so for example, and I would have to look at my little notebook where everything lives, but there are, I think, 9 different distillates in batch 10.
Wow.
Is that the one we said? I don't know. I'd have to look. But long story short, um, I've got, and what's important is like you have all these different, so like there's just a handful of barrels of this 5-year-old stuff that are super fruity. But then there's about 16 barrels of stuff that are 15 and 16 years old that are heavy oak and, whatever. So you're trying to create this balance and trying to create complexity and trying to put all these things together. But in doing so, you have to, it's not like 5 of these and 5 of these and 5 of these and 5 of these equal this. So then you have to start estimating, okay, there are X number of proof gallons in this 15-year-old stuff and X number of proof gallons in this 9-year-old stuff and blah, blah, blah. So you have to create blends based, and then to create the test, you have to figure out the volume per barrel and how that relates to the ratio of the full batch and all that kind of stuff. So it's not guesswork, but it's not an exact science. You're not like, you don't know the volume of these 15-year-old barrels, nor do you really know the volume of all these 12-year-old barrels, nor do you know, so I say all this because, you put this blend together and I work through this blend and you go through, change this and change this, and you really get, it's like, okay, I've dialed this in. I'm really happy where this test blend is that I've created in this little lab from these little sample bottles that I'm kind of guessing or educated guessing of the volume of what's in these barrels. And so until you actually dump all those barrels out and put them in a tank together and mingle it and taste it, you don't know if you've got it right or not.
Right. Yes.
It's that like you settle on the blend, and then you say these specific barrels I want dumped, and until you taste, and you can taste it and be like, we got work to do. But at any rate, so that's like the nerve-wracking thing. But then everybody always wants, so it's great. So I woke up about 5:30 this morning, nervous about it, and I left home about 7:30 and drove to Bardstown and answered some email in my car. But then at about 8:30, you have the sample of batch 10. Pour it in a glass, and you're like, okay, well now I got to, this is it. This is when you decide. This is where the rubber meets the road, right? And so it's fun. It's a little bit nerve wracking, but it's kind of fun.
So, and it's amazing, I'm sure, for you to see it go from that sample, and then once it's all combined, and you're like, yes, we did it, and then to see it in the bottle, I'm sure, is just like the ultimate, like, it's just got to feel amazing to see it finally in the bottle after all that work.
The bottle is great. It's just to be done with it is better. And I don't mean to say be done with it, but like, it's when you get to that point where you're like, yes, the real blend is not, I don't know. It's just like that. The bottling part of all of it, whatever. It's just
kind of more relief for you.
Yeah, then it's somebody else's problem, right? Like I've done my job. Now I just drink it with people, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's I like that insight into everything. So the next one up that you very graciously sent was this really interesting release called Dry State, which I'm telling you, it's being talked about a lot out there in the whiskey world. 100 proofer, and very, very limited release on this. And I was doing some reading today that there's like 2,000-ish bottles of this particular release.
Yeah, it's the interweb, as you kids call it, is a funny place. We've had some issues with some online retailers, saying stuff about it that's not true, and I don't know where that comes from, and I'm really glad I don't have to deal with that. But yeah, there's 2,000 of these total. There are 200 or 250, one or the other, of these that are export. So 1,750 or 1,800 for the U.S. I will be on this is a shameless plug, man. I'm just sorry. I just have to.
You got to.
When we were getting this thing together, and when we're talking about being in a global pandemic and everything that's going on, there's a bit of, not to sound like a jerk, but there's a bit of reluctance around releasing something that's you're gonna put a price tag on $1,000 and whatever, and it's a story. The packaging's amazing. It's this beautiful wooden box with two doors, and then gold or like copper wax, and I hand signed all the labels, and there's a lot of that kind of stuff. Oh, this is the bottle.
It's a very cool
and then
bottle.
It comes in this big, but all of that aside, whatever. I mean, it was hard. It was hard to kind of, and I brought that up. I brought that up to the team, to these guys that I've become very close with, the CEO and the chief marketing officer. And I was like, look, man, we got to do something. Like, this is, and essentially what is happening is we've got 5 bottles of dry steak, five specific bottles, all numbered in the 2 digits, so between 40 and like 70. I don't know what, I can't remember, but anyway, they're being auctioned off by Christie's auction house.
Oh, cool!
And it's like a month-long auction. And I've handwritten note cards to talk about this, and they're placing them in the box for us. But and each one of those 5 bottles, the price tag starts at $1,920, which is the 1920 to 2020.
Yes.
But all of the proceeds from all 5 of those bottles through the Christie's auction house, all of that goes to the National Restaurant Association's Employee Relief Fund.
That's awesome.
So, we're talking about hopefully well over $10,000, if not more. That is, and I give them credit, man. They said, Dixon, is there something that you would like to give back to? And I said, hell yes, there is. I'm sitting here, I've got all these employees that are laid off, out of work, struggling.
Yeah.
This is, and so really cool. The response has been amazing. The media response has been great. It's been, I've talked to, but the fact that we're going to be able to kind of do something with it, and it is pretty. It means a lot to me, anyway.
Oh yeah, that's an absolutely great cause, and absolutely one of the places that obviously needs it so badly right now. All the help they can get. So that's really cool, and hopefully Christie's is able to drive those prices up a little bit and raise all kinds of money on those. That's really cool.
Yeah, if they don't, we're just gonna throw them out in raffles on the secondary, like back old school.
Oh, God.
Like, No, I mean it was
Yeah,
fun.
that's
That was a hard that bottle, like that blend is um, one of the most interesting things I've ever had to do, because obviously I'm like working with very special and small quantities of stocks and the limited stuff that I have. But at a certain point, it's just like I had to be like, okay, I just got to focus on making the best whiskey I can make. I'm just going to put together, I'm going to put this together. I'm going to try to find this sweet spot, um, this really nice kind of elegant balance of, and when I talk to people about, there's like that really oaky kind of like like that really heavy oaky thing that is balanced by, decent spice on the back end. I wanted that tip of your tongue to the very back of your palate. Keep it off the sides. Like, I mean, just Main Street, double stripe from the tip of your tongue all the way back and finish clean. I wanted this elegance to it. And then at the same time, it's kind of like, you have to throw out the fact that I know what everybody, or what they want this to be, how they want this to be in the in the retail world and all this stuff. And it's like, how do you make, it's like I'm just trying to, I'm gonna make the best thing I can make and
yeah.
go with it. And I loved it in that you get it down a little bit out of those 120s, which is where it started. The kind of some of the oaky tannins work their way out and they become a little bit softer. There's a lot of honey in that thing, I think. And I just, I love the way that that thing has turned out. I'm excited. And I think the packaging, I mean, I like to think that what we've created with Dry State is going to be something that is kind of the focal point of a lot of like collectors.
Oh yeah.
They're one of their showpieces, and I think that's cool. I also hope that they're the kind of people that eventually say, let's crack that sucker open and drink it, because something cool just happened. But
Oh man, you if you buy a bottle of this, you must drink it, because again, and I find this across all of your products, whether it's the ryes or the bourbons, the the finish is just crazy. I don't know how you do this on your blends, but the finishes are just out of this world. They just hang around and hang around, and then as you breathe back out, this is probably the favorite thing I get in a bourbon, is that it kind of like enters back into your sinuses, like as you swallow and breathe. And that is just like the best note. I don't know if it's a note or that's the best like sensual experience that I get with a whiskey, when it comes back up through your sinuses and you kind of like almost taste it twice, like in your mouth and then back through your sinuses and almost back. It's just, I don't know how to explain it, but really cool.
Well, I think probably there are other people that would listen to that probably didn't drink whiskey. They'd be like, "Oh, that sounds disgusting," but that's okay. I'm just
They
kidding.
probably,
But yeah. Oh wait, it's back in my sinuses again. That sounds terrible. Why would you do that to me? But I also, I also think, and this is there's nothing. I mean this. I don't mean this in a bad way, but when people say, "Oh, that's so mild, that's so light, that's so delicate, that's so smooth, that's so whatever," it's like, okay, are we talking about a blanket here? Or are we talking about whiskey? Because like I want to make things that have flavor, that have character, that have complexity, that kind of, you got to think about what's going on. I don't really want to make something that you go, oh, wow, that was like I just touched the cloud and now it's gone. I like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's
Totally.
just, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just, um, I want to create things that make you go, I need to taste that again because I just got
Yes.
this, and I want to see if I want to see what else is happening there. Not, hmm, that balances really well with Diet Dr. Pepper. But that's whatever.
Well, I mean, you definitely accomplished that on the finish. That experience of like, what the hell just happened? Like thinking, like, and really kind of like trying to dissect what you just drank. And I've said this before. I don't know if I think I said this to you either through direct message or something, that the Batch 9 bourbon was like one of those whiskeys that just, I drank it and I like had to like stop. I had to put down my glass and be like, oh shit, that's like one of those whiskeys that kind of like stops you in your tracks. And I'm not just saying this because you're on here now. I've said that to many, many people. That's like one of the whiskeys that made me like really kind of sit up and stop and be like, holy shit, this is what like well-aged, well-blended whiskey can be. So, I mean, I'm super excited. Definitely this batch 4 rye that I've tasted, very excited for that. And then I can't wait to see what you've done with batch 10. Really excited for that. And the dry state, crazy. The finish, ridiculous. Really great flavors in that one. I can't wait to finish that sample.
Well, please enjoy it. Thank you. I
No,
appreciate
thank you.
that. Batch 10 is it is. I think it kind of flirts with some of the profiles of some of the really early Kentucky Owls again.
Oh, cool.
I
Very
didn't do
cool.
that on purpose, but it just kind of happened.
Yeah,
I don't. And I mean, I'm super excited. I'll send you a sample. You can let me know what you
very
think.
nice.
But
Well, Dixon, really thank you very much for coming on here tonight, and spending the hour here talking like this. I mean, it's really great to talk to you, to get some insights into like your process and everything, and then to taste through these new releases that are coming out has been really, really, really nice. So thank you for that, and looking forward to what you've got coming down the pipeline after these next 3 releases come out here.
heck yeah, I'm trying to read. So I'm terrible. I can't do 2 things at once. Like I can't read the comments or like the questions and talk.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of these.
I know. What is there anything that
I don't think there's any questions. There's just a lot of comments on people loved the batch 9. People liked your dry state plus Dr. Pepper comment. I don't think you really said that, but you mentioned Dr. Pepper. But in any case,
no.
lots of funny commentary here.
My man at Catch, I got, oh, Carla, what up, girl? Yeah.
Dry state is the winner. So yeah, Dixon, we've got just a minute left here. So again, thank you for doing this, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
No way, man. That is awesome. What is that? More information about the dry state.
I'll put it on the IGTV when I post it.
Okay. Well, look, I'm thrilled. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for always kind of including me or whatever. So I'm happy to do it anytime. You let me know when you got a spot to fill. You let me know. I'll
Right,
hop
man.
in.
All right, Dixon. You have a great night, and thanks again. And stay in touch.
Sounds good, dude. See ya.
Right, cheers. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining the Urban Bourbon Hour tonight with Dixon Dedman at the Old Owl here on Instagram from Kentucky Owl. Really great conversation, I think. Look out for these new releases, Rye Batch 4, Bourbon Batch 10, and the Dry State. So guys, until next time, have a very happy Bourbon Heritage Month and take care. Cheers.